Hey everyone, it's Brandy and welcome back to my channel, Brandy Janae's Bookshelf. Before I get into today's video, I did want to start off with a little introduction. If you guys are paying attention or if you noticed, I posted a video yesterday on Monday, which I typically don't do. Normally for my scheduled videos, I try to post every Tuesday and Friday, but last week I was trying to post Tuesday through Friday because I didn't post the previous week, so I was trying to play catch up. So 4 videos in the week, and that gave me time to film Tuesday and possibly Wednesday and get those videos up throughout the week. However, I did not get to that like I wanted to. I decided that this week is the last week of May. I would just go all out and post a video every day during the week. Now I'm going to get into the actual purpose of this, which is to talk about the books from my reading for the first half of May. The majority of the books that I read for the first half of the month were rereads, and then there was also a big focus on completing series. With all of these books that I finished off 3 series. 2 of them were on my series to read of 2019 video. So the first series that I'm going to talk about that I finished off was the Blue Blood series by Melissa De La Cruz. This is actually, I believe, backwards in the order that they go in, holding them up like that. The first one that I finished was The Van Allen Legacy, which I believe is book 4. Then Bloody Valentine, which is book 4.5. It's a collection of novellas. Then Misguided Angel, which is book 5. The Keys to the Repository, which is book 5.5. Lost in Time, which is book 6. And finally, Gates of Paradise, which is book 7 and the finale of the Blue Blood series. So I started off, I was only going to read books 4 and 5 and then the 2 novellas because I was a month behind. But all of the audiobooks, I was able to get the majority of them from the library, and then I think I got one of them from the Audible romance package, and I just blew through all of these books. I didn't plan on it, but I figured since they were all there, I might as well just go ahead and do it. And the way that each of the books kept ending, I was just like, well, what's gonna happen next? In this world, the vampires actually come from fallen angels. So with the fall of Lucifer, or Lucifer tried to take over heaven, and because of the angels that sided with him after they lost this big war, all of these angels that sided with Lucifer in the war initially, they were all cast out of heaven onto earth, and they were turned into vampires. And with them came 2 archangels, or maybe not archangels, but pure angels, one to never change sides, which was Michael and Gabriel. As the time progressed, they are continuing to be reborn in different times, and they have all of these different life experiences before their blood is recycled and they come back in another lifetime. So Skylar Van Allen is actually the daughter of Gabriel and a human. We find out that she's a part of this prophecy that says that Allegra Van Allen, which is her mother's name, in her current life cycle will be the savior to, I can't remember what they're called, the Fallen or something like that, or the Blue Bloods. I can't remember exactly how the exact wording is, but she is supposed to be the savior of the Blue Bloods who want to go back to heaven, the ones that aren't happy with where they have been for the past like few centuries or so, or however long they've been on earth. And we follow Skylar and a few other female characters as they grow up and they learn more about what's going on in the world. The Van Allen Legacy and part of Misguided Angel were rereads for me. I'm pretty sure I didn't read the entirety of Misguided Angel, but I definitely read all of it. Lost in Time and Gates of Paradise were both new reads for me, so that was interesting seeing how those finished off. As far as ratings, I gave the Van Allen Legacy 4 stars. Misguided Angel I gave 3.5 stars. Lost in Time was another 4 stars, and then Gates of Paradise, which was the finale of the series, like I mentioned, I gave this one 3.5 stars. I felt like there was so much build up, and this one was kind of a letdown compared to the previous books in the series, so that was kind of disappointing. And then the other two novellas that I talked about, I didn't read either of these before. So first was Bloody Valentine, and this one was a series of novellas. I believe there were actually 3 short stories in here. So the first story follows Oliver as he meets this witch, and that witch ends up helping him overcome this bond that was created when Skylar performed the sacred kiss on him. It was an interesting story, but it wasn't my favorite. The second story in here follows Allegra Van Allen, who, like I mentioned, is Skylar's mom in this current life cycle, or that's the name that she's going by in this current life cycle. And we are following her in her teenage years when she goes off to this boarding school. We follow her as she goes off there, and she meets this human, which I'm pretty sure is Skylar's dad. It was interesting seeing that, but it was another one where I was just like, I really don't care too much. So the third and final story in this novella, bind up companion book, whatever you want to call this, we are following Skylar and Jack, which is one of the big romances that happens in the majority of the series, and we're following their time in between 2 of the main books, and we get to see the lead up to and their bonding ceremony, which was really nice to see. It was a nice little addition to have, and I think that was the only story that I like really truly was happy that I read. The other 2 I was kind of just indifferent about. I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. And then the final book for the Blue Blood series that I'm going to talk about in this video is Keys to the Repository. This one is a really weird one. This is more of a companion book, unlike this one, which was novellas. I mean, they're both technically companions, but this one had actual storytelling in it. This is pretty much a informational guide to the Blue Bloods world. If you've read the series, or even just starting the series, there's a lot of talk about the repository, which is a place that holds all of these files and information about the Blue Bloods throughout their entire lives on Earth. So this is pretty much a glimpse into some of the things that you can find in that. That was the Blue Blood series. I have officially completed that for the year. Now that I have talked about that for way too long, now we're going to move on to the next series, which was the Vampire Academy series by Richelle Mead. And for that one, I read Shadow Kiss, which is book 3, Blood Promise, which is book 4, Spirit Bound, which is book 5, Last Sacrifice, which is book 6 and the final book in the series. And then I also read Homecoming, which is a little short story that was in this bind up of short stories, and that is 6.5. I think it's 20 or so pages, which I will also talk about when I get to that. So all of the books in the series besides Homecoming were rereads for me, because I have read the series multiple times now. I feel like each book so much more gets discovered that it's kind of hard to sum it all up in one go without spoiling anything, so I'm not really going to try to do that. My best suggestion is to just read it. I know now that everyone isn't gonna love this. I didn't love it as much as the very first time that I read it this time around. I noticed a lot more issues than I did even the last time I read it a few years ago, but I think I still enjoy it for the most part. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the novella, which was called Homecoming, and in the novella we're following Dimitri and Rose as they travel back to Siberia so Dimitri can visit his family for the first time in a really long time, and after some things have happened in the series. So that was really nice. I wish that we would have gotten to see more of Rose and Dimitri interacting with his family, because I feel like at least half of the story, or really 75% of the story, they actually go off and they're hunting one of the Strigoi that is near Dimitri's hometown. It was nice getting to see them work together, but at the same time I was just like, I don't care. Like, I don't want, that's not what I wanted to see. And the final book that I have to talk about for this specific video is Etched in Bone by Anne Bishop. This is book 5 in the Others series. So once again, I feel like I can never really talk too much about later books in the series. I can kind of give you a little bit. If you haven't read the books, you're not going to know anything that I'm talking about. But in this book, we're following life in Lakeside after the elders have come to like cleanse different parts of the world. I think I mentioned in my wrap up part 2 for April when I read Marked in Flesh that it wasn't as creepy, I feel like, as it could have been. But at the end of that book, they talked about how some of the elders needed to go back to Lakeside to observe the humans, to see what type of human should and should not be allowed to live and thrive in the world. The conflict in this story is we have one of the detectives or the cops in Lakeside. He actually moved to Lakeside at the beginning of the series. His name is Montgomery, Crispin Montgomery. Sometime in book 4, he tells his mom and sister to come to Lakeside after his mom loses her job. But his sister has this thing with his brother, and he didn't invite his brother to come, but his brother ends up making his way to Lakeside because he thinks he's going to have a free ride. Going into this, I was just like, how the heck is that going to be like a big enough problem for this to be a final book? I was just like, there's no way that one person can stir up so much trouble. And boy, was I wrong. He thought by intimidating people, he can get whatever he wants. And he doesn't realize that these others aren't people to play with. Like, they aren't people. They're animals that were shape-shifting into... It was good. This was the first one that I ever gave 5 stars to. Marked in Flesh was really close. I gave it 4.5. But this one, after sitting on it, I was just like, it was amazing. It was so well done. How everything was weaved together. I just loved it so much. And honestly, if any of you have read this series and know of anything that has a similar feel to it, please let me know, because after I finished this book, I was just like, I'm going with the withdrawal. I was like, I need something that's like this, but I don't know of anything like this. If you guys like paranormal, urban fantasy, definitely suggest you guys check out this series because I think it's really amazing. It was one of those that was really weird to get into the writing style, but I would suggest you guys pick up the audiobooks because I think books 3 through 5 I listened to the audiobooks and it definitely helps a lot more. Now that has taken me way longer than I thought it would to talk about, those were all the books that I read during the first half of the month. I will be doing a part 2 for my reading for the second half of the month that will most likely go up sometime next week. If you have read any of these books, let me know what you thought about them, or if you're interested in reading them if you haven't already. And yeah, let me know some of the books that you read during the first half of May. I know it's a little weird because the month is almost over. If you want to let me know some of the books you read in the second half of the month, that's fine too. But I will be posting another video, so just let me know some things you read in May. That's all I have for you guys in this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to see more from me, make sure you subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow for a new one. Bye.